Hey guys, my name's Kevin Boone. I'm the pastor of Genesis Community Church in Travelers Rest, South Carolina. I'd like to study with you tonight out of 1 Timothy chapter 5. And I want to go to verse 22. And it says this, "Lay hands suddenly on no man." This letter, 1 Timothy, was written to a pastor named Timothy from Paul, the Apostle Paul. And he's telling him things as he's starting out in the ministry to do and not do, things to teach the people. Incredible letter that we can always learn from and meditate on and pray through for pastoral ministry and other things too in this book. But anyway, in the context that this verse is written in that I just read, he's talking about how to treat elders. And he goes on in there about how to deal with elders in the church and them that sin rebuke before all that others may fear. He's just talking a lot about how to do ministry and leadership. And the New Living Translation, because of the context, but being close to this mentioning of elders, translates verse 22, "Do not be in a hurry about appointing an elder." I think that's a good translation in that it's probably talking about not being in a hurry to appoint an elder or a pastoral leader or a deacon. Any leader in the church to not be in a big hurry to do that. And quickly, I want to say that there's probably two places of ministry that is most in danger of doing that. The first is a church planter, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm starting a church here in Travelers Rest, and when you start out, you usually don't start out with a whole lot of people. Some people start out with a lot, but most don't. So the temptation is there to be quick to just find some people to start something, and that's a real temptation. He's telling us not to be quick. He's telling us not to be in a hurry to appoint leaders in the church. That's basically what the message is. And I tell you, not only church planners are in danger of that, but small church pastors. If someone was to ask folks from Enon in leadership positions there, what was one of my faults as a pastor, it wouldn't be that I did this all the time, but occasionally I would appoint people that just weren't ready for the ministry. Or there was some other issue there, maybe even a character issue, but I did it sometimes because there wasn't really anyone else to do it. And it wasn't the right thing to do. And I learned the hard way to listen to this verse closely. Because even if there's no one to do a particular ministry, then just don't do that ministry. Rather than appoint someone who is just not qualified, whose character is not where it needs to be. I think the qualifications here in chapter 3 of a pastor and a deacon are good qualifications for any person, the character qualifications, for any person that is looking to be in a ministry in a church setting. So as a leader, whether you're a pastor, if you're amongst an elder board or deacon board that makes decisions in the church for leadership, if you're on a nominating committee to place Sunday school teachers in positions, just remember to be real careful and to not be in a hurry to appoint and get that thing fulfilled. You have certain positions, got to fill those things, right? Well, you have to. But don't even do the ministry. Combine classes if you have to, instead of having a class for everybody with a teacher, for instance, that's not qualified to teach. And I've been guilty of that, and I think that, again, it's a strong temptation for church planters because they're trying to find a core group of people to do ministry, and they want to get started, and they want it to be effective. And I think it's a real big temptation for small church pastors in rural areas because a lot of times you have 15, 20 people that are doing all the work, and you look on your membership list and you're going through it and you say, who can do what? And sometimes you do settle, or at least I did at times, for someone to do something that wasn't ready. And they're good people maybe, just not mature enough. Maybe there's a character flaw there that you said, well, that won't be a big deal. Well, that's come back to bite me at times, and I think you lose credibility in your leadership when you make those types of decisions. Look for the best of people. It's not that people have to be perfect. You're not going to find a perfect leader. I don't want to come across as that, but you understand they have to be of high character, and I think you can see those character qualifications in 1 Timothy chapter 3. But there's also two personalities that are probably most in danger of making this mistake, of being too quick to appoint leaders. And that is someone who's maybe a pastor who is tender-hearted. A lot of pastors are tender-hearted. They want to see people do good. 1 Corinthians does say that love believes all things, but you have to be careful being tender-hearted. You want to restore people. Maybe there's someone that shows up at your church and they were in ministry and they just went through a nasty divorce, and even if it wasn't so much their complete fault, maybe their spouse was more at fault than them, I still think it's good to give people 6 months to a year in restoring them and loving them and making sure that there's not some sin in their life that doesn't need to be repented of before you begin to restore them too quickly. I've restored people too quickly. I tell you, I'm confessing my sins tonight, or my shortcomings, that I've done that. So I want to encourage you not to do that. And a tender-hearted person, God has given me a tender heart. I love to see people restored. I used to love to see people come to our church that other churches had rejected, and to restore them back into ministry. I have a passion for that. But don't do it too quick. Do it as long as they are meeting certain requirements. And then the other person or personality that is most in danger is really a naive person. I was out in the world before I was a Christian, and I was a probation officer for a couple years with the state of North Carolina. And so I guess, I kind of I've seen a lot and been in pastoral ministry for quite a few years, so I've seen a lot, but I still can be naive sometimes. I still can get pulled in. There are people that will show up at your church that are master manipulators, and they will show seemingly signs of repentance. I've had that happen to me, and I've just been naive about it. And because of that, being pulled in, maybe a combination of tenderheartedness, too quickly, you say, you know what, why don't you come over here and start teaching here or doing this over here? So real quick, I'm going to close. I just want to encourage you to give people a chance, yes, but give them 6 months to a year to be restored and to prove. It's nothing wrong. There's nothing judgmental about that. It's a much needed thing. Give them time to prove that. Matter of fact, the deacon in verse 10 of chapter 3 says, and let those also first be proved, and then let them use the office of a deacon, being found blameless. Let them prove to the church over a certain period of time that they have repented of the sins in their life and that they are qualified character-wise to be in a position, because this is the Church of Jesus Christ. This is not a community club. No offense to community clubs, but this is a serious, serious thing when we appoint people to represent Christ in the church. God bless you.